The Makers of Minnesota dinner series at the Lexington have been a blast. Imagine being in the beautiful setting of the Lexington in St. Paul, in the gorgeous Williamsburg room with the stained glass windows, the leather banquettes, accompanied by 75 other people, just like you. They're all there to experience a great dinner made by Chef Antonio with wine pairings featuring products made right here in Minnesota. Our November dinner is Tuesday, November 30th, and tickets are $98. We have 4 featured makers at this dinner, including cheese from Head Creamery, the delicious nuts of the North from Isadore Nut Company, beautiful spirits from Vikre Distilling in Duluth, and mushrooms from R&R Cultivation, who are farming 11 different types of mushrooms right here in Minnesota. We'll have Makers of Minnesota holiday boxes filled with my favorite products for sale, including Isadore's chai nut mix, which I'm just crazy about. I'm so excited to see how Chef Antonio will use all of these ingredients in his multi-course menu. We'll have a limited number of tickets for this special dinner, and we have sold out the last 2 dinners, so go to thelexmn.com and sign up via Eventbrite for the 3rd Makers of Minnesota dinner at the Lexington. Go to thelexingtonmn.com and get your tickets now and join me and some fabulous makers who will tell you about their products and share their maker stories while treating you to Chef Antonio's gorgeous creations using their products. Buy tickets now at thelexmn.com. The Makers of Minnesota holiday gift box is something I've been thinking about for a long time. I'm Stephanie Hansen, and the whole reason I do the podcast is to introduce people to the cool maker scene happening in the Twin Cities. I love being the one to tell you to buy the soda crackler candles because they smell amazing, or to try the nuts of the North from Isadore Nuts because not only will they be the best chai nuts you've ever had, but 50% of her workforce are people with disabilities. Tasha's company is helping people reach their goals by teaching them life skills, and that's not something you might know just looking at the package. Bear Honey is all about the bees, of course, but I specifically chose their vanilla and hot honeys as they are wonderful for baking or on a cheese board, and Lost Capital Hot Sauce is a fermented sauce. These guys are so entertaining to listen talk about hot sauce, and they mentor other sauce creators in town to share the love. K-Mama's sauce, Korean ketchup, has long been a favorite of mine, as has Heather's Dirty Goodness seasoning that adorns my Thanksgiving turkey every year. Even something as simple as fresh peanut butter turns into magic when you add apples and cinnamon, and it's 100% fresh, no preservatives. Cheryl has made this batch just for me and for you, and Gustola granola has been a personal favorite of mine for a long time, as well as BT McElrath's Salty Dog Bites and their Annie B caramels. Even sponges are superior when made in Minnesota, right? And if you haven't tried biltong yet, you know, the jerky that is marinated with 6 timeless ingredients that are then air-dried and thinly sliced to perfection with no added sugars. The result is a truly authentic Minnesota-made snack by way of Southern Africa, and the first 150 boxes sold will find a bonus bag in their box. All of the products in the Makers of Minnesota box were curated by me due to their tastiness or the stories that made them uniquely Minnesotan. And each of these folks have shared their story with me on the Makers of Minnesota podcast. We're going into our 4th season, and there are lots of boxes you can buy out there to ship to friends and family. But please consider the one that's made in Minnesota and curated by me so you can share the stories through the podcast of these makers. Boxes are $65 and can be found at loveminnesotabox.com/gifting or by the link on my website at stephaniesdish.com, or you can also find links to order on the Makers of Minnesota Facebook page. Delight in 12 Minnesota-made items and share your love of the great maker community in our state and help support the makers that make it great. Boxes are $65 and can be found at loveminnesotabox.com/gifting, or you can also find links to order on the Makers of Minnesota Facebook page. Hi, this is Stephanie Hansen, and welcome to the Makers of Minnesota podcast. I'm happy that you're here. This podcast is designed to talk to cool people doing cool things in the state of Minnesota. We love to amplify brands. We spend a lot of time in the food and drink space just because who doesn't want to spend time there? It's an amazing space. And today I'm really happy to be joined by my friend Tasha Kellen, and she has a nut company that we are affectionately, I think, calling the Nuts of the North. Hi, welcome.
Hey, Stephanie. Oh my gosh, you are so kind. It is just great to be on with you.
Absolutely. It is Isadore Nuts Company. And I feel like we've been talking about your nuts forever. So actually being able to spend time with you on the podcast and talk with you about the nuts and bolts of your business, see what I did there,
Nice.
is very fun. Tasha, tell us a little bit about when you got started and about the nuts in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny to hear you say you feel like been talking about the nuts forever, and I feel like we've gone through some major, really major changes. The business started in 2013. It was very focused on having a clean, delicious snack that I could share with family and friends, sell at the farmers market, kind of thing. A little bit of a passion project, and particularly because I wanted to source as responsibly as possible. I was really concerned about how do we do our best to support local and organic and make sure that supply chains are done sustainably. And I started in the farmers markets. I started in holiday boutiques, things like that, where we were selling the nuts as kind of gourmet snacks and gifts, which was great. I mean, it was really great to get out there. People loved the product. Just a little bit about me. I'm not classically trained in any shape or form. I just love good food. I love to eat and I love to play in the kitchen. And so nuts, because they have high protein and you can do a lot with them, as you know, Stephanie. I mean, as a chef yourself, you kind of want to dress things up, right?
Oh, yeah. Salads and snacks and happy hour, cocktail parties. I feel like I use your nuts for everything, actually.
I love it. I love it. And that's the kind of thing, right? It was we want something healthy, something delicious to snack on. Felt like there were a lot of candied nuts on the market. Felt like there was a lot of the just kind of the salted nuts, but I wanted something that maybe kind of elevated the nut eating experience, and that's why we did things like use turmeric and cumin seed and just try to introduce just different flavors than people were kind of used to the standard. In fact, our best seller is one called lemon rosemary, and it's fresh rosemary, bright lemon, cumin seed, white sesame seed, and all those flavors play really well together. But then at the very end, you taste high quality nuts. And so, back in the beginning when I started, I was focused on just how I sourced organic, non-GMO, fair trade, local maple syrup. And then as I kind of grew, we made some changes. We went from the original glass jars, and it was a little more gifty, to being in to some craft bags so that we could sell on more like a co-op shelf, if you will. And but it wasn't until kind of around 2018 that I looked around and I saw that something that I thought I was filling a void for in kind of the early part of the decade was really other companies were growing up around me and doing similar things. They were looking at less sugar, and they were looking at different types of ingredients. And it kind of felt like I'm not really sure we have a place anymore.
Uh-huh.
But I learned about a kitchen, a commercial kitchen located in Golden Valley. And when I showed up, I didn't realize really what was so special about the kitchen until I started talking to the kitchen manager. And when she said that the kitchen, run by JHAP, stands for Jewish Housing and Programming, was there to run programming for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, she brought an issue to my mind that had never been there before. And she raised the issue of this incredible discrepancy in our employment, which is that adult people with disabilities, 82% of them are unemployed or underemployed. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was how is that even possible? Are people just not overlooked? We've just gone through a pandemic and people, people need jobs, people, there aren't enough people to fill jobs, but it's that's actually not true. There are a lot of people who want to work. And that's what I've been learning so much about since 2018 is
funny because you mentioned that I think I know a little bit about this only because I've done so much work with ARC's Value Village. And there are a lot of people that are disabled in various capacities, but they have other talents or talents to bring to bear and maybe just require some modifications or some patience or just taking time to get to know them where they're at and what kind of skill sets they could contribute.
Exactly. And that's really what's so amazing, I think, is that I learned is that, listen, we're all just people, right? We've all got our own personal challenges and some are bigger than most, but, at the end of the day, people really want to be valued for what they can contribute. And how they can develop their passions and how they can learn from one another and just be a contributing member of society. And as you know from being at ARC, it's like, oh my God, like this person's really capable. They can do a lot of things. And, why is it that that people get labeled and things like that? I mean, we could kind of go down this road, but the idea is that when I learned this incredible discrepancy, I thought I need to do something about that. We're a small company, but we can. There's no reason why we can't. And the kitchen director at the time was also a job coach. And she said, listen, I will set you up. I will find the right people to come in. I will help train them. And Stephanie, it was like the most incredible thing, because to be able to have somebody who says, not only can I help find employees for
Yes.
you, but I can be there right alongside them and support them and help them get to a place where they feel autonomy and they can advocate for themselves and feel comfortable with you as an employer and the job that they're doing. And then I can fade away. And then you're left with this amazing employee who is so proud, so excited, comes to work ready to just like jump in and apply themselves because they're valued.
Yeah. And so appreciative that they're given an opportunity to produce what you're producing, to be part of a team, to learn those job skills. And when you think about how challenging it has been for people to find employees, the silver lining is that people have to get creative, and this is potentially creative, right? But to have like all that onboarding and that help too allows you as a small business person to grow faster.
Yeah. And I don't think enough businesses realize that this is an option for them. I think there's still a lot of trepidation around like, someone has a disability, physical, mental, what have you. That means that they're gonna, that there's gonna be a big learning curve. And
right.
Listen, we all have learning curves. I don't care who you are. Like there's gonna be a learning curve. But if you can have somebody who has funding for a job coach to come alongside them and support them and help them get comfortable, you are going to have like an employee for life.
Right. And so at the time you're wondering if you have a place in the world of nuts, and then you learn about this kitchen. How did these things intersect and then kind of reinvigorate the company to move forward again?
So it was very much this idea like, I have a bigger purpose than just to sell nuts. I want to, help change the trajectory for employment and advocate for employment equity. And of course we should grow. We should grow by leaps and bounds, because the bigger we grow, the more people we can employ, the more we can spread the word about how we all just want to be valued. And then the more we grow, the more we can support my goal of sustainable supply chains and providing this healthy, delicious snack, which, I think I might have been a little bit modest, 2018, when I'm like, other things are filling the void. But it's like, we're still making our product by hand. We still hand chop fresh rosemary. Like we are very careful with each and every ingredient. In fact, we just got non-GMO project certification, which is a huge way to mark our commitment to sustainable, to organic, to treating the farmers, the growers with respect and care. And so that truly, I mean, as you'll probably attest, comes through in the taste. It motivated me to like submit it for Good Food Awards, um, and now we have the accolades to prove, what I think was true. And
Yeah, because you guys did win some Good Food Awards, didn't you?
yes, for our lemon rosemary that I mentioned, and also a chai spice, which is kind of tastes like a ginger cookie in a nut form.
Yeah, that's the one that we put in the Makers of Minnesota holiday gift box. Because when I first had that, you gave it to me, I think, as a sample and
Mm-hmm.
was like, here, tell me what you think of this. I was like, Christmas, holidays, Thanksgiving, like fall, autumnal, just friends and family. And all of that came through just in that spice combination on the nuts. So that was kind of how I felt about that particular flavor. And then, you have a chocolate cinnamon, or excuse me, a chocolate peppermint flavor too. That's
Mm-hmm.
also really good.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Really good. And what's interesting to me, you're a very modest person. And I think frankly, I don't seem like I would be a very modest person, but when it comes to like talking about myself, I actually am. I'm fully comfortable talking about all of you and highlighting you and sharing your stories. But when it comes to doing talking about anything that has to do with myself, I get like a little modest and embarrassed. I love that when you connected to that bigger mission of what your purpose was and what your goal was, that it reinvigorated you in a wholly different way. Are there other people that are cooking in this same space, and are there room for others, or how can people get on the inclusion train?
Well, I would say not even just our kitchen, but get on the inclusion train by just kind of looking at community service programs in your area. I've had people just start reaching out to me, because I put it out there. I put it on LinkedIn. I put it on my social media. I say, we're actually in Disability Employment Awareness Month. October is Disability
All
Employment
right.
Awareness Month. And so more and more people are thinking about this. They're seeing discussions around disability and employment and ability and how we value one another, like when we're coming to the table. And so our kitchen is small for the most part. There is another couple of makers in here, and one of them has gotten involved. Humble Nut Butter is also an inclusive employer, but what I try to emphasize to employers is just look beyond the resume, look beyond the normal typical hiring practices, and put it out there and let people know like what it is you do and what you want someone to do for you. Because at the end of the day, packaging, having routine work, that's a really valuable skill that people can get really comfortable with, and they'll get in their groove, and you can learn that sort of thing pretty easily.
How are people primarily purchasing your nuts now? Like, are you online? Are you in stores?
Yes, all of the above. So we have our website, direct to consumer. We are also on Amazon. We've got a couple of offerings there, so definitely think about that for some holiday gifts. We are in a decent amount of our local specialty stores. So Certix is one that's been with us for a long time, and the Wedge in Linden Hills. We're in some coffee shops, Rustica, the bakery, Honey and Rye, and you can even find us in the mini bar room offerings at the Hewing Hotel.
That's funny. I think I put together a list, and I think it was for the Laura Hotel. And then the same person that I think puts together the in-room offerings went to the Hewing.
She did.
So yes. I feel like I might have had a hand in some of that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because I just remember giving her a list and consulting with them on what would be some great products. When you think about how your business has grown, where do you go next? Is it more flavors? Is it just staying consistent and growing and finding more accounts? Are you comfortable with where you're at? You seem like so happy and joyful about what you're doing.
Well, Stephanie, I have big news. I have like really, really big news. We are moving to 5-ounce pre-printed pouches that shall be available in time for holiday. And the pre-printed messaging on the bag is all mission driven. We are introducing our own badge. It says handmade by people of all abilities.
Okay.
We are taking a step, a stance, staking a claim and saying, you know, there comes a time when you really stand up for what's just and what's right and how you can make the world a better place. And you'll literally see that on the packaging, that I am all about trying to repair the world through promoting sustainable supply chains, employment equity, and really healthy, delicious tasting food that nourishes the body and the spirit. I'll tell you, we're going to be a $25 million company. We're going to become the nut snack company that equivalent of Dr. Bronner's for soap.
Or Ben and Jerry of ice cream. And yeah, I love that. And I feel like you've had this trajectory of learning, of growing, of experiencing, of being humble, of having to step out of your comfort zone in order to get there.
Yeah. It's definitely, I've had some really amazing mentors along the way. Some who, it means so much when people believe in you. Oh my God. I mean, when somebody, my mentor, an amazing man who came from General Mills and read an article when we first moved to JHAP, when I first became an inclusive employer, and said this was the turning point for us. Knowing that we were going to take this thing big, he reached out, cold emailed me and said, I know this business. I want to help you grow. And he has been at my side for the last 2 years, and it's happening. We just did the Brand Builders incubator program, and Kate LaBrosse.
Yeah.
Yep. And Kate LaBrosse, who runs that, was the one who, kind of put it in my mind that, Dr. Bronner's, with their mission right on the label, is the way that you kind of shout it from the rooftops.
And it gives you a point of differentiation other than taste, because taste can only be the point of differentiation if someone has bought and tasted the product, right?
Yes, exactly. And I know you can't eat mission, but I believe once you taste the product, not only will it taste so good, but you'll feel good about our company while you're eating it.
Yeah.
And that was going to have that ripple effect that is going to, one person tells another person and another person tells another person. And all of those efforts that we're making, will just, it'll spread. The goodness will spread.
I think you're right about that. And I'm glad to be the person who can say I knew you when, because I just have really enjoyed watching that journey. Do you have any advice for someone who maybe is at the turning point with their business?
Oh man, there's always those days where you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. How am I going to make this work? And I'm just not sure. And when you have people that believe in you, that is a big boon to your confidence. And it doesn't even have to be like a really powerful mentor. It could be somebody who sees you and tastes your product at the farmer's market and says, I've never tasted anything like this. That's the reason you keep forging ahead, because that person's going to tell someone else, and they're going to tell someone else, and that's going to get you into your next store. And so it's like, even when you have those days where you're just like questioning everything, just think about kind of how far you have come. And that's what I think about. I think about how far we have come and the fact that we've got our biggest order to date. And, the Mouth gourmet food site, we're shipping out, pallets to them this week. And those are things that you kind of have a dream about. You just don't even know like how big to dream until somebody kind of sets it in motion for you. Like says, like, why wouldn't you dream as high as even higher than you can imagine? Dream beyond your wildest dreams, right? Because at the end of the day, think about how good that makes you feel. Because you've got people in your corner who believe in you and want to support you and will say, like, what you're doing is important and we don't have it anywhere else. So if you went away, just think what a loss that would be.
Right. All right. That is good words to end on because I think it's super inspiring. We are going to release this podcast probably in the November timeframe, just because I'm a few weeks ahead. But I do appreciate that you mentioned that it is Inclusivity Month for October.
Yes.
And I want people to know that you're going to have a holiday gift pack of your own, aren't you?
We will definitely be, we're going to have a new website coming out early December. The Wedge Co-op is probably going to, Wedge and Linden Hills will probably be the first places to carry the new bags.
Okay.
So the plan is to like be there on the Small Business Saturday, ready to demo and get food into people's mouths.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. And I was thinking I was going to hold your podcast to actually release it the week before Thanksgiving as part of sort of the gift giving time frame. And
thank you. And we've got our dinner. Should we talk about our dinner and the post?
Can. We can talk about our dinner. It's going to be happening in November. And we are partnering with the Lexington on a Makers of Minnesota dinner. And tickets are available at thelexmn.com. And when you come, you're going to be with about 70 to 90 other folks. We have the whole restaurant to ourselves.
Amazing.
And Chef Antonio has put together a multi-course meal with wine pairings. And you will be able to taste products from the different makers that are participating. It's Head Creamery, our friend Elise, who has just beautiful cheeses. It is R&R Cultivation. They're going to be joining us as well.
And so excited when I saw that.
Yeah, super excited. Super delicious. So we're excited to have everybody at that dinner. So again, tickets can be found at thelexmn.com. You're involved in the Makers Box. I just really appreciate your partnership, your friendship. You've been out at Stone Arch Festival with me some of those days where we're working the markets. I really appreciate it.
When the rain came pouring down, it was like, oh my goodness.
There's always one day that you get a little bit of rain in June, right?
Totally.
All right.
Stephanie, you've been so kind and so generous with your time and even, featuring me on Twin Cities Live. On Jason's program and, just spreading the word. I truly appreciate that generosity that you've spread it far and wide. And
thanks.
It's so
You're
kind.
on to big things, Tasha. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.